Today, I'm going to be talking about why I think NVIDIA is such an interesting investment opportunity. So, if you don't know what NVIDIA is essentially a semiconductor and technology company. They're well known for being innovative and being on the forefront of a lot of technology advancement. So, the reason I think NVIDIA is so interesting as an investment is because I think it'll be able to take advantage of a chip shortage that is happening right now. So, if you haven't heard about the chip shortage, what's happening is that a bunch of computer chips and semiconductor chips that are used in things like cars, computers, phones, whatever, are in a shortage. There's not enough production, not enough supply, and there's a lot of demand. It's been such a point that car companies have had to close down factories and stuff like that because there's not enough chips. And so logically, a bunch of chip companies are going to make a lot of money because of supply and demand. And I think Nvidia is one of the best opportunities for that. So the first reason is because they haven't gone up that much. Some of these semiconductor stocks have gone up 50% in the last week. Nvidia hasn't really gone that much up. But the other thing I think is interesting about Nvidia, and this is the main thing, is that they just bought this company called ARM Holdings. Now, if you haven't heard about ARM, ARM is this wonderful, wonderful semiconductor company that used to be owned by SoftBank. It was bought by a guy called Masayoshi Son, one of the richest people in the world and in Asia, and he basically has invented SoftBank and is a major technology investor today. So what Masa-san basically did is he says that ARM is a crown jewel. He bought it because he thinks it's going to be part of something called the paradigm shift. So in the next few years, everyone's going to be having things like Alexa and all this new technology, and he thinks ARM is going to grow exponentially because they're a great semiconductor chip company. But recently, he actually sold ARM to NVIDIA. And there's a lot of reasons people speculate. One of the reasons that he may have been doing bad in a couple of investments recently and he needs cash. But what I personally think is that he thinks that NVIDIA and ARM have great synergies together. So what he's going to do is he's selling the company for a bunch of stock and cash. So essentially, he'll still own a big part of NVIDIA and therefore a big part of ARM after the transaction is completed. So overall, he still is invested into ARM, which is interesting because it shows that if such a legendary technology investor, probably one of the best investors of all time, as he has a return rate of 44% a year for the last 18 years, it makes sense that this is probably a good investment. Now, we know already that there's a shortage of chips, and NVIDIA already produces its own chips. But couple that with ARM, which is a very innovative, top shelf chip company, you have a very interesting combination. And they just bought it, I think, 2 weeks ago for $40 billion. So it's a very interesting proposition that you now have a chip supergiant that is perfectly prepared to take on this chip shortage. In fact, they're building a bunch of new facilities right after they bought it. So, in conclusion, I think that NVIDIA, now coupled with ARM, is perfectly built and positioned to take advantage of the chip shortage that is active today. A chip shortage so bad that the US President Joe Biden and Congress are now enacting laws and subsidies and incentives to basically sell more chips. And it's such a big problem that I think NVIDIA and ARM are primed to solve. So I suggest you guys look at NVIDIA as an investment, maybe invest into its stock. I personally have put a lot of investments into NVIDIA because I think it's a very interesting company, and we'll see what happens. Good luck out there, and thanks for watching the video.